and welcome again to Seekers of Meaning, the podcast TV arm of Jewish Sacred Aging. I am your host, Rabbi Rabbi Address. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We welcome you to what I'm sure will be a very, very interesting and enlightening and hopefully inspiring conversation with one of our truly gifted young colleagues of ours, Rabbi Paul Kipnes from California, Southern California. And we want to talk about his recently published book, The Secret Life of the Mourner, subtitle, A Poetic Journey Through a Year of Grief. Paul, welcome. How are you? I hope you and your family, you have a lot of mazel tovs lately. So again, mazel tov to all of that. And I hope you're well.
Thank you, Richie. It's great to be here. Great to see you again. It's been a while since someone's called me younger colleague. So
yes, you are a younger colleague. You are a younger colleague. I speak the truth. So, and just enjoy it. The Secret Life of the Mourner. This is a very, very, very personal journey of poetry. First of all, let's get the economics out of the way. Somebody wants to enjoy this, learn from it, and it is a very useful tool for teaching on a variety of different levels, not only just the concept of poetry, but also expressions of grief and the journey of mourning. How does one get? Is it Barnes and Noble? Is it Amazon? Is it private? Or all of the above?
There's a company called lulu.com, LULU.com. It's a platform for self-publishing books, and they can get it there. Go into the bookstore and search Kipnes, Kipnes, or The Secret Life of the Mourner. Those who know me can probably email me, and if I have a copy around, I'll be glad to send them one, and they can send me, Venmo me or Zelle me.
Cool. So this is it correct to say that really this is about your dad?
This is about my journey in mourning my dad. But it's also a universal journey of anyone who's lost someone. This is my story about figuring out how I felt and how to mourn after I lost a huge presence in my life, my dad, Ken Kipnes.
And why poetry, Paul? Were you always drawn to poetry, or is this something that just emerged organically from your neshama?
Back when I was younger, I used to write poetry to my then girlfriend, now wife, Michelle November. But I hadn't written a lot of poetry since then. But I knew I was in such pain and I couldn't describe it. And I knew I had to write. And it came out as poetry. Sometimes poetry allows us to say things that prose doesn't convey right. Poetry speaks of the heart, speaks in metaphor. It moves beyond the intellect into the heart and soul and kishkis, the guts.
You have this wonderful phrase that I hope you can unpack, because I saw it and I wrote it down. I said, this is a beautiful phrase. Dictation from my heart. Dictation from my heart. Almost as if I could see you sitting, probably not stuck on the 101, but, perhaps just contemplating something and just responding to something that your heart is telling you.
So the phrase, taking dictation from the heart, came from a guy named Phil Gurin, who is in the TV media business, a friend and a congregant. We were at Lovey's Deli in Calabasas, talking about all sorts of stuff, and including, I think I was either I was in the period of mourning or this before they had died. And he was asking me about my writing process, about sermons and whatever. And I said, I have to write. I don't know what's going on in my head and heart. When it comes out, it forms into something. He says, it's like you're taking dictation from your heart.
Wow, that's good. That's great.
That's it. My mom, Linda Kipnes, who died about 20 months after my dad, used to write. And once she said to me, if you don't know what you're feeling, Paul, if you're struggling and you don't know what it is, grab a pen and paper or at that time a typewriter and just start banging away. And it reveals what's in my heart.
That's why I wanted to ask you about that phrase. It's really, when you write even now, I mean, since you raised this, do you, because I know some colleagues have they sit down and they are disciplined and they write, whether it comes out 1 page or 20, that's their time that they write. I know other colleagues, they'll get an idea. It could be 1 o'clock in the morning and they have to get it out. They just have to get it out. Are you one or the other or a little bit of both?
Most of my good writing happens with these two thumbs on an iPhone.
Really?
And this book, I'd say about 75% of it, if not more, was written while I was in the morning, when I'd be up 5:36, walking or running on the treadmill. And I knew there was something there and I'd just start writing in a writing journal and it would come out.
Wow.
When I was younger, meaning, in my 30s, and we had 2, then 3 kids, there was no time to think. And I started getting up at 4 in the morning, sometimes 4:30, and I would write. And what I loved about it is I was so exhausted, I couldn't edit myself. I couldn't stop myself from getting caught up in a word. Later on, when iPhones came out and other phones and smartphones, I started typing it, and it was the same. When I sit at a computer, I can edit, I can think, I can look things up. When I'm on an iPhone, it just has to come out. I like the phrase taking dictation from my heart, because sometimes I say, I got to vomit it out on the page, see what's there, and then shape it.
Do you want to continue writing?
Yeah, it's the greatest gift that I got. I believe in God. It's the greatest gift God gave me. It's the only way I can make sense of the feelings inside, of what I'm seeing around me, of the world. Look, we Jews are, and I know this goes to Jews and also plenty of others, but we're the Amasei for the people of the book. We know that the written word has power because it helps sharpen existence, helps bring it into clarity. This is my 3rd book. My wife, Michelle November, and I wrote
parenting book.
Yeah, Jewish spiritual parenting. And then when my mom, about a year before my mom died, I was visiting her. My dad had passed, and she was in the nursing home, and my brother told me she had files of writings. I knew my mom wrote, and we shared that thing. So I went over and I said, Mom, can I look at these? She said, yeah. I start reading them through, and it's amazing. She wrote poetry. She wrote stories, speeches as a leader in Orden in the synagogue. And I compiled them into a book, just a privately done one, Invisible No More, the collected writings of Linda Gale Kipnes. My mom gave me the ability to express myself, and she nurtured it in me. Writing helps. We have experiences, but there's a million ways to look at them and understand them. A narrative psychology helps us work through and re-narrate experiences when they've taken us down bad paths. I write to make sense of what I've seen, what I've experienced, to tell the stories, or in this case, poetry.
Well, the stories that you're telling of your book, in your book, The Secret Life of the Mourner, one of the early poems, I never knew. I never knew what this felt like. 27 years as a rabbi caring for others, and yet I never knew. After all the sermons about death and dying, about loss and living on, I never knew. You have to walk the walk, don't you?
I thought I was a really good pretty good rabbi, really good rabbi.
You're a very good rabbi.
Thanks. I learned from the best, from you many times.
You're very, in all seriousness, thank you. But you're creative. You've grown your congregation and really are an inspiration to many, many colleagues.
Thank you. Thanks. And I'm actually getting choked up and I'm tearing up now as I remember this. We buried my dad back east, and then I flew home a couple of days later, and I did a couple of Shiva Minions services, gatherings. We had one in my house, and dear congregants, a 3-4 generation family in the congregation, connected to founders, big supporters, dear to me. I was with them when the matriarch died, and held their hands and walked them through. And a couple of them, Mark and Linda, came to my house for the Minyan. And after it was over, I went up to them and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And they're people I could let my guard down with. And I said, "When I was there with your mom, and we buried her, and then we did the services, and I connected you in. Was I supportive?" They said, "Yeah." I said, was I able to help you through? Did it seem like I was listening, empathetic, understood? And they said, "Yeah." I said, "I didn't know. I didn't know the pain that you must have been feeling, because I'm feeling it now." And out of that, I think that night I wrote this thing I never knew. Over all the years of checking in with others and the late night calls and texts, just so they would know they were not alone, that we had not forgotten. Still, I never knew. The unique journey of a rabbi is we accompany people through all sorts of life moments, death, birth, simchas, joyous moments, sad moments, illness, worry, fear, the things with our kids. And the rabbi goes in, and if we're good and kind and empathetic, we help people through. And then you go through it. Oh my God. My heart was ripped out, and I didn't know how to get through the next moment, let alone the next week or year. And so I wrote.
Did you find once you were experiencing this, and like you say in the poem, I've spent my career helping, I know how to do this. At any point with both mom and dad, this sense of almost like conflicted role identity, like I know what I know if this was a congregant, how to act, but this is me, and I'm at a loss.
Oh my God. Time and again. I felt like all the training I had, all the experiences I had, all the walking through the valley of the shadow of death, accompanying people by their side as they went through, I didn't know. And the truth is, I didn't like it.
Really?
I hated the experience. I wrote a poem also in the book. I don't like being the one who others are supposed to take care of. I don't like being the one whose emotions might be out of control. I don't like being the one who they're sending the Brent's Deli tray to. I don't like being that one, the caretaker. That's my role. It was so hard. And I think we don't truly understand the depth of the pain the other person is going through. The best we can do is remove our ego and our need to fix it or hear, and to step back and listen and accompany them. It was so hard.
Oh, so I remember. Yeah, I remember. I remember. And both of my parents died very, very differently. So there were two different types of one was really prolonged, one was very quick. You have this wonderful poem. Actually, when I read the book, connected seeing Daddy in the mirror, and a poem called Seeing You in the Mirror. And it immediately flashed on me after my dad died, when I got up one morning and just stumbled into the bathroom, turned the light on, looked in the mirror, and went like, holy, expletive deleted, how did you get here? Right? So Could you just reflect on seeing Daddy in the mirror? It just happens to everybody, and it's so real, but it's very, very profound on a very deep psychosocial level of what it triggers in a human being.
We were on Cape Cod in Hyannis in an Airbnb. It was the morning of the day of the funeral, which we held at Cape Cod Synagogue. The rabbi there opened the doors for us. It was so beautiful. And I was walking from our bedroom towards the bathroom, and there was a closet door that was open. I didn't know this house. And I just took a look to the right as I'm walking by, and there was this big mirror in the closet.
Oh my God.
And I looked over, and holy...
Expletive deleted.
It was my dad. I mean, his smile, his white goatee, the round belly, and in the middle of that moment, when I was losing the one of the people who were the anchors in my life, I looked over, and not only did I see him physically, but I saw at that moment that that all the values, his central values, the love of Judaism and family and Israel and prioritizing youth and his pursuit of the truth and his humor and his teasing, all of that was in me. And it's happened a couple of other times. My wife likes to say, when you wake up in the morning, what number, how old are you? Before you can think. I'm 61, I think, somewhere in my early 40s. I look in the mirror and I'm like, who are you and what happened to Paul?
Where'd you come from? Yeah.
I look like my dad. Yeah.
It's that moment, which is why I love the poem, because it happens to so many of us. And it's just this like, it reinforces those people who believe, and I've come to start believing in this myself, that the elements of the soul of the people who have died do find their way into us in a variety of different ways. So, but it's a great poem. Here's another one I wanted to ask you about, because it seems to me very, very relevant. It's called "Don't Be a Fool, Sit Shiva." It's on page 23. And it links to another one that you have later, early in the book, called "After Shiva." But what I wanted to ask you about, because this Shiva thing is so powerful, we've seen it professionally because we do Shiva minions, and but until you're actually sitting there, as you said, worrying about the deli tray being brought in, and where you're going to put the rugelach, and why are they eating it all? So I have noticed, and many of our colleagues also are reporting, that there's a decline in people sitting Shiva. And I wanted to know if, in your experience, in your congregation, if you've seen this, and if so, why? Because maybe we just have not done a good enough job in teaching the power, the real psycho-spiritual power of sitting Shiva. And not for one day, or what's more common I've seen now, 3 days, but the week, the 7 days, and then the whole ritual of getting up and walking. And are you seeing that out in your place?
Yeah, we're seeing it everywhere, even in conservative reform, conservative, secular, reconstructionist. People are not sitting Shiva for a long time. They do it once, they do it twice. First of all, most non-Orthodox Jews are not regular with going to services, so they don't have the same need to say Kaddish every day. And we sit Shiva in part to have the community come in and be able to have a place to say Kaddish. I also think that there's a huge purpose in having people around you so you don't have to take care of yourself during that first week. They take care of you and whatever. But here's the challenge. In the traditional world, the community brings the Shiva meal to you. They take care of the food, they take care of the sweets, they set up, they clean up all of it. Today, if you sit Shiva, you have to arrange it. You have to arrange the food for people. You have to get people to come in and clean and set up and take down. We've lost that art of the community taking care of people. And so why do I want to have a party or a gathering that I have to take care of or my family does time and time again? That's a piece of it. But I think we watch on TV, and how many episodes till after a death, till someone moves on? It's, 2 or 3 episodes. But in real life, I sat Shiva for 14 days for my dad. Okay, technically I sat Shiva for 7, but I realized that once I stopped doing it, people are going to expect me to go back and be Rabbi Paul or Paul. So for 7 days, I sat, and same for my mom, and don't be fools to Shiva while you can, because the world's right now at your feet. But next year or next week or tomorrow when you seek, they may not have time to meet. We live in a world, everybody gets busy. They forget, and we're stuck mourning. I want to teach, the reason I sat Shiva also is I want to teach my people that there's a power of it. I think we have a lot of work to do because people live longer and we've extended life. So often people are so exhausted when their loved ones die, unless it's a quick thing. And they think they're ready to get up and get moving. They've been in hospice, now I can get up and get moving. And I say to people, whatever you went through prior to this, it doesn't short circuit, your mourning. And you can mourn now or mourn later, but if you mourn later, they're not going to be there.
No, I remember with countless numbers of families, and especially in prolonged waiting, dementia or prolonged illness, and they'll say, I've done my mourning. I said, I can only tell you one thing from my own experiences. You think you're ready, but when that phone call comes at 7:30 in the morning from the hospice or wherever, and it's real, and it's always it's real. You got to listen to your body, because your mind will say one thing, but your body will tell you a million different other things, and that phone call changes your life.
Yeah, it's so painful, and we often say, "I don't deserve to need to mourn. Suck it up, get going." You remember our dear friend Aaron Pankin, Rabbi Aaron Pankin? He was the head of the seminary, Hebrew Union College. And he was a classmate and a friend.
Oh, wow.
And he died in an airplane accident. His sister, who was mourning him, Rabbi Melinda Pankin in New Jersey, a brilliant rabbi, caring, came over to my house. She was on the West Coast. And we sat in the backyard during Shiva. And I'm pouring out my pain at the loss. And she's in the year when her brother died. And that was tragic. My dad was old. It was before his time, but he was 83. I had he wasn't old, but you should live to 120.
Move on.
Okay.
Move on.
When there was a line in this poem when I discounted my loss because no tragedy occurred. She wagged a finger right there in my face. She did this. She said, "Each loss is unique because it's yours, don't you think?" And she gave me permission to mourn in my space. We need to give ourselves permission to mourn. It's part of life and it's part of death.
Yeah, and the American culture is so anti-mourning, but the realities of mortality, we still sugarcoat it. And, like you said, in the media, 10 minutes after the next commercial, they're back, solving the world's problems or whatever. So you have a couple of poems, one called "I'm Trying to Forgive You, Dad." And the other one, I sat with my dad at Yisker. I think it's on page 37 and 64. But one of those themes is something, again, that we really have the opportunity to unpack in a spiritual way, sometimes legally, but not spiritually. And that is the difficulty and challenge of forgiving, the difficulty and challenge of forgiving a parent who may have not lived up to the expectations, the forgiveness aspect. Because there comes a time, I think, my experience is that we come to understand that our parents were people, just like us, and they screwed up sometimes, and they were heroes sometimes, and they were frail and vulnerable, and sometimes they did stuff that really ticked us off from a variety of different. So my sense in reading those two poems was there's that element, you even write about it, of forgiveness and growth, and that's part of the Shiva process. So can you talk to me about that?
My dad, Ken Kipnes, Kenny, was an incredible papa. He was just the greatest to our grandchildren, to his grandchildren, our children, and brought the family together and bonded us. And he was great in his values in the community in Israel, and he tried so hard. He was a product of his generation. And a product of his inheritance, and there were places where he didn't have the same emotional bandwidth that I needed. Some of that is he didn't have it, and some of it is I needed certain things. And there was plenty of struggle as we all have a long life. He had a temper, I inherited a temper. We had to work that through. What I realized in my mourning is I was angry at him. I was angry at him for ways that he had been. I was angry that he couldn't walk me through his death, that he couldn't help me process my emotions as he was going through it. Of course, he was struggling with some depression. He was struggling with getting old, and he was once a big man on campus, and now someone had to drive him and take him and give him his pills and whatever. I realized that I was harboring this anger and this hurt. Some goes back to childhood. I've been in therapy since, therapists were created, since, my 20s. So I had a good sense of it, but none of that helped me through. I was most angry, when he died. When I saw him the last time before he died, I wanted to be able to help him through. But I was hurting so much, and all the times that I needed him in one way and he wasn't there, or I didn't know what I needed and he tried and it wasn't what I needed. It came flooding back, and so first I had to forgive him for being who he was. My brother gave a brilliant eulogy, my brother Chuck, where he said, "Dad tried everything. He tried to be." And what I realized is, for me to find peace, I just got to let him be who he was.
Right.
There was no major issues, no major anger, no major problems. It was just normal kid and father stuff. But can I tell you that the prayer about sitting at Yisker, we do this ritual at Congregation RME during Yisker, where I have people close their eyes. I tell them what it's about, but have them close their eyes and take them through a short guided meditation that puts them in a comfortable room, in their home, in some other place, and to invite their loved one in.
Mm-hmm.
And then for 3 minutes to sit with your eyes closed, hold their hand, see their smile, and talk. I had done that, I guess 20 times by the time my dad died. But on that time, I got off the beam and Rabbi Julia Weiss led it. And I sat there with my dad and We talked, and I said, I'm sorry I couldn't be what I wanted to be at the end. And he said, what do you expect? You're my son. Let it go. Let it go. And I did.
Yeah, I've been involved with situations. I did a couple of those. Invited people to have a conversation with their loved one in front of the ark, and they're and like the guided meditation. I found it to be liberating, cleansing, rejuvenating, and spiritually uplifting for the people who really took it seriously and did it.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's something, you'll know this better because of your background in therapy and psychology and healing. But there's something about when you articulate what you're feeling, when you can say it and not hold back, it cleanses, it releases. Some said we spend our time going towards and pushing away from our parents while they're alive and after they're gone. And Jewish ritual, Yizkor, saying Kaddish, for me writing this poetry, is a way of doing that, getting it out, looking at it, and creating a new way forward.
No. The thing you did with Yizkor, we monitor, because it's one of the more requested workshops that we do is on new rituals for new life stages. But I have found in the last, I'd say, decade, this explosion, and I use that word advisedly, of people wanting to create these ritual experiences to do exactly what you said. To experience, to let go, to hold on, to have a sense of Jewish embrace for a life stage that they're going through. That a lot of times in many places it's okay, you did this or you're going through that, but still, I want something. This is very meaningful. It's very personal. I'm constantly amazed at the creativity of ritual that's being developed now in the Jewish community, just like what you just did for Yizkor, and it's very meaningful and very powerful.
Richie, you were in many ways at the forefront of the movement, both in sacred aging, but also in healing, in talking about what you're saying, that Judaism has this immense wellspring of wisdom, but also rituals, and a push towards rituals that can help people face what they're feeling, their struggles, their challenges, their worries, their loss. One of the beauties of Judaism is we have all these great rituals. One of the problems is they're so ritualized. We've made it, you have to say this prayer now and then this prayer, and if the moon is here and it's Tuesday and it's cold outside, not 80 degrees, but at least 70, then you do this. And what happens is it's so stifling for what's going on in my heart and soul.
Correct. Yeah, yes, it's I always constantly amazed as I do these things now and look back to my years at HUC in the seminary. None of these were even, if I had raised my hand in whatever class we had and said, I think we should do this, what? What are you talking about? It's in the prayer book. You do that. That's what you're being trained to do, as opposed to put the book aside, listen to your soul. Because this doesn't lie. This lies all the time. This rarely lies.
I am learning that there are people for whom knowing exactly what they're supposed to do brings them comfort and helps them get through difficult times.
Absolutely.
And that's the power of what happens in Jewish ritual. The problem is, for so many of us who need something more, we're left aside. And so, how many Shiva minions now, people go and there's a frame the beginning of the prayers, a call to worship, Baruch Hu, Shema, maybe a Hashkivenu, a nighttime shelter me prayer. But then we hold off on the rest of it and have people tell stories of their loved ones. We're teaching the gathered what they're supposed to do for the next year, which is call up and say, hey, I was thinking about your dad and I was thinking about you. Let me tell you a story. You tell me a story. And then we do Kaddish. These rituals bring out so much and can help us.
No, they're keys to liberation in many ways. You have
that is a brilliant phrase. Don't run after it. They're keys to liberation. I'm going to use that, Richie.
Feel free to. Before we run out of time, I want to ask you about when there's all these poems. And again, the book, The Secret Life of the Mourner, Poetic Journey Through a Year of Grief by Rabbi Paul Kipnes, lulu.com, Lulu, lowercase or?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? Okay. You have a poem called Alone I Called Out to God, and you have this wonderful, again, and this lovely little God listened, asked questions, then quietly said, quote, don't live life as a lost absentee, unquote. It's on page 86. Don't live life as a lost absentee. Another great line.
Wow. Thank you.
No, great line. Because we have so many people who do. The difference between living and existing, they exist. And too late, we found, we missed out on living.
I was afraid that in my need to take care of my whole family and the need to take care of my congregation taking care of me, in my general need to live life and run away from whatever's going on, which is why I have to write and figure out what I'm thinking, that I would miss out on mourning. Not miss out because it's fun, but miss out because it's liberation of my soul, for my soul. And in those, there were those moments when I was so bereft, so in pain. I remember talking to God, heat boda dut, like Nachman of Bratslav, the great Rebbe, would say. I would just talk like you and I are talking. And I got this sense. Don't live as a mourner for the rest of your life. And don't live without processing what you experienced with your dad, the beauty, the challenges. Get into it, get dirty, get messy, and then walk forward, l'chaim, to life.
Yeah. The first time I saw this, when I was at Adal Elohim up the street from you many years ago, when we were just starting out. And there was a woman whose husband died. She did the funeral, buried her. She never really buried her husband. She never ever. It was, and as a kid rabbi, this is the first. You see, what class did we have to teach you how to deal with that? But she never really was able to process that mourning process. It was all in many ways rote. And one of the rituals that we teach in the workshop is really the removal of a wedding ring after the year of mourning, as a sign to it's not for everybody, so don't jump on me. This person who invented it just needed his congregation to say, it's okay now. It's okay. We love you. It's time to move on because you have to live. Like you said, like you wrote in the poem. Rabbi Paul Kipnes, Congregation Order of Me, Calabasas, California, a great location.
Thank you. Come on out.
I'd love to get back. I really should do another. I have some friends back out there, and I miss LA. I do. The Secret Life of the Mourner, a poetic journey through a year of grief. Paul, thank you very, very much. This is beautiful. And by the way, did this affect your parenting? How you parent your kids? A nice softball question at the end.
Yeah. You know what? It reminded me that I have to think about how I want my relationship to be with them at the end. I loved my dad and I was so sad to see him, but there were things I felt like I missed out on. And with this, I'm I spend a lot of time working to repair the general messiness that is parent-child relationships with my kids, so that when I go, we're all good.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Thank you, Richie.
Stay healthy. Say hello to Michelle for me. Just mazel tov for all the simchas. And hope to see you on campus somewhere sometime soon. But just take care.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
To all of you, thank you very, very much for being part of today's Secrets of Meaning with Rabbi Kipnes. We really do appreciate your time. If you'd like to send us a message, make a comment or suggestion, please email me at Rabbi Address at jewishsacredaging.com. If you go to the website, you'll find a very conveniently located donate button. And if you'd like to support the work of these podcasts, just click on the button and follow the prompts. And if it's too difficult, get your grandchild. They'll know how to do it. Secrets of Meaning is produced at the Broadcast Center of Lubeck Media Companies here in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And a big shout out to our producer and tech genius, Steve Lubeck. Thank you again for joining us. We do appreciate your time. Until we see each other again in the next Secrets of Meaning, be well, stay safe, stay healthy, and most of all, be kind to one another. Shalom.